Okay. You don't mind just putting your name on?
Sure.
Yes, please.
There's another item that
Hey, Chairman, I don't want to kill the rest.
Chris had requested he put on the agenda, was namely the community garden
Okay.
that I didn't
Well,
see.
let's go through what we have first here.
Well,
And now everybody wants to leave for the fireworks, right?
well, I suggest we do everything but the open space list first,
Yes.
because that can go on for hours.
That will go on for hours. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I at least have an update on it, that'll take a couple minutes, but let's
Okay.
do the other things first.
All right, so let's do everything first, then we'll do that last, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Hackensack Meridian Health, Bay Shore Emergency Department Addition. 727 North Beer Street, site plans
I saw it.
number 2018-4, block 36, lot 24. Application grant, variance relief to expand the emergency room parking lot, restriping, construction of additional parking spaces, and entrance associated improvements. Okay. I mean,
That's gonna be one of these piles.
it should be this one right here.
Yeah.
Probably that one, yeah.
It's probably the one on top, probably.
Yeah.
Did you see Meridian Medical Center?
We've seen this before.
Really?
Why is
Did you
it
see
coming
Meridian
back?
Medical
Okay,
Center?
What
No.
What
They
Bonnie
should.
I told me
They should
when I
already.
talked to her at 5:30, although
That's
it's listed under
that's a
planning board,
different one.
it's really a zoning board on this one.
That's the third one.
And the crucial word is resolution compliance. That is, this is not because it's a new application to either of the boards, but that after it's approved, then the applicant has to meet all the conditions that were set by the approval.
Correct, the resolution, okay.
And the applicant is working to do so, and hence these are revised plans in order to meet the conditions. So this is something that Bonnie I enforces. Because until all the conditions have been met, they can't get permits.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really
So, I
have
mean,
any.
if there was some environmental issue associated with this one,
I
you
don't-
might want to say yes or no or something, but
I don't think we have anything
on that one, no,
on that.
I would agree.
We should be good with that.
Yeah, okay,
Right, so everything's good with that.
fine.
Okay. All right, Bainham Farms Connection, that works. 101 Crawford's Corner Road, block 11, lot 38.05.
That's one I can comment on because I'm very familiar with it. This goes way back, and as part of the 2004 master plan, which talked about hopefully trying to have a vision of a greenway trail following the Raminescent from the headwaters at the Art Center down to the reservoir. North is that way, but anyway, the Raminescent flows here at the back of the Bell Labs property and goes on down to the reservoir. So one of the things that was in the approval on the Somerset development is for them to be able to connect from the labs to the trails at Bayonet. And that was one of their conditions they have to eventually meet. It turns out, right on this property line here between Bayonet and the back end of Bell Labs, there is what one might call a tiny, tiny ditch stream, which flows into the Raminescent.
It's a C1 stream then.
Which is a C1 stream. So it's more than a year ago that Bonnie Hurd, Mike, myself, Somerset's engineer, Langen, the project manager, Pat Garafalo from Bellworks, walked the site and marked where they have to build a bridge so that the trail can connect, and they'll build a path through the woods to that bridge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Was it done?
not yet. Which is one of the,
Should be.
no, it's this pile here, which tells you something. They did all the engineering, they submitted it to the DEP, and they now have the permits. And now they can go ahead and do it. So all they're submitting this stuff is, again, resolution for compliance. They're saying, we're gonna do this, and here's what we're gonna do. And it's exactly what was agreed to in principle a year and a half ago in the field. So it's good, and my only words were that, good, let's get it done.
All right, so they're doing exactly what they said,
Right,
and there's no problems.
agreed.
And Bonnie is gonna,
Did you review the plans?
I looked at them before, that's why I came a few minutes early to be able to look at
And
it.
you see nothing wrong with it?
Bonnie will oversee the construction.
Bonnie Hurd eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I found it amazing to go through this, to see for what's gonna be the 20-foot bridge covering a couple of ditches that, it's a steep slope on one side, the way these things, when it erodes, it is covering it. It's probably no more than this deep, but we jumped across it. And what is required to go through for a permit for something as simple as that?
But that's through the DEP, correct?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
state DEP.
Well, it's probably, is it more than a general permit or just a general?
There are a couple of permits.
That means.
Joint permit, a multi-permit application, permitting plans.
Now, does this involve also that Somerset create the trail?
Yes. It's gonna be a 5-foot wide wood chip trail. Connecting, there is a path around the pond at the back. And then it'll be a crossing of the road and a path along the back here, and then going through the woods to where it will join in. Some of the original drawings show that there's sort of a gravel road back here, which was used for maintenance purpose, and also when they did the environmental cleanup. That the original plan showed it just following that gravel road. But eventually, somebody may want to do something with that property, so the feeling is, let's get it out of the middle of the field and onto the periphery, where it's out of the way if somebody eventually wants to do something.
Maybe it would prevent something from getting done.
But in any case, it connects to the existing trail system on Bayonet.
So this is a resolution compliance only, and it doesn't need a motion from us, right? So there's nothing
Yeah,
else to do
yeah,
here?
unless we had some complaints.
No, but you look at
And
it,
the
so.
DEP okayed it?
Yeah.
All
And
right.
the state, since it's DEP, the state engineer is gonna have to approve it and
And they haven't
inspect it.
given the permit, so.
Right, exactly. So we're good with that.
Good.
Okay. All right.
As I recall, there was some resentment on the part of Somerset Development to do it.
They don't want to do anything cost money. Is it simple?
Like the sidewalk?
Yeah. I mean, any developer will do what he can to minimize his costs. You can't argue with that.
No.
But when the master plan and the ordinances say, here's what we want you to do to be part of our community, and then you squeeze them a little bit, and, okay, if you want our approval, then you gotta do some of these things, which
That's
are
right.
not really that big a deal,
No.
given the scope of the project.
No. Not even 1% of the project.
Yeah.
It's probably like a 0.1%.
If that.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Zoning board, Hackensack Meridian Medical Center signage.
Not our purview.
We should be, I don't see a problem with this. Changing the sign. So. Yeah, that's all they're doing. So
Signs are
nothing,
not ours.
nothing for us to worry about.
Having good signs is important, so people can find their way and not get
Planning
lost.
board
That's-
dealt with that already.
Yeah, that's their responsibility.
All right. Moving right along. what else we have over here?
So what are the adders now?
I have, on the Lamy 800 Homedale Road, block 29, lot 31, preliminary and final major subdivision
Yeah,
number
that was an
6.
add-on, it wasn't on the original
This is
agenda.
just, yeah, this is just a resolution compliance as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have it there. What is it
So it's
about?
the next one.
Anybody knows?
That's-
Well, it was a 3-lot subdivision.
That's right, that's right.
And it had a lot of steep slopes, and they had to
This is-
do
That's,
That's the one we
This
walked?
is the one,
Yeah.
this is 800
Yeah,
That's the
Homedale
road
Road.
walk,
yeah.
right? Okay.
So, have they theoretically complied with everything? We don't know.
Don't know. Stormwater facility operation and maintenance manual, those are often things that are requested as part of an approval and then have to be done. Parking required. Oops. What else would we got here?
So did Bonnie sign off on
I don't know.
I don't think you should look at it.
This one is Homedale Road.
it? See, they came in
Oh,
with a narrower
oh.
road, and we made them widen it.
I remember that.
And then they did the cool, not a turnaround in the back, that's what they didn't want to do. I think they've started to take down.
Some trees, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's good.
about the basin, they were gonna do some stormwater
Right.
retainment. I think we gotta take a look at that a little bit. It says resolution compliance, so that means,
Well,
So it's the next
again,
one.
what it means is they're presenting their, if there were issues in the original, then as the approvals are usually conditional, say, we'll approve it, but you gotta do the following, and these drawings then are revisions to correspond to those. And then that becomes an administrative thing, which Bonnie
Right.
I,
it's not up to us to,
yeah, it's more Bonnie H.
Because of the stormwater.
Yeah, it's a detention basin.
The detention basin had to be maintained by an HOA. They had to form an HOA, didn't they?
Okay, that's probably why the fat stuff here, this is stormwater management report. This is all how they're gonna do that. So I guess that's really for T&M to review
Right.
For compliance.
for compliance. I don't know enough to do
Well,
it.
so, hey,
Yeah,
I would make the motion that the engineer signs off on it,
T&M should review and sign off on this. I agree
and
with
then we're
that.
okay.
Okay.
do we need to make a motion?
All right, it's up to you guys.
Or just a recommendation? I think it's just a
Well, I
recommendation.
mean,
So is it, yeah.
we don't have any environmental issues on the property, so really we don't have anything to do.
Well, there are.
Well, there are environmental things, so
Yeah.
we're looking to T&M to verify that it's okay.
So we already made our recommendations and I remember, if I remember correctly, it was like 5-6 months ago, and it's
Yeah, it was before I was
Yeah,
here.
it's for up to Bonnie and TMA to review them and see
Right.
if they comply with our recommendations, right?
Yeah,
So then Bonnie Hurd should review the plans.
Bonnie Heard or
Someone else.
T&M.
TM, well,
Should review for
right, for Bonnie
compliance.
Hurd, right, okay. All right,
The last-
Next
That's
one
another
is
one.
930 Homedale Road.
I have two add-ons here.
Well, okay, now this is the 930, it's this one.
What's that one?
Yeah,
930
Giuliani.
Homedale Road,
block 13. Block.
that's a zoning board one. Special conditions.
Can I see those special conditions from the zoning board?
There's 11. This one again was probably before.
Where is it?
930 Homedale Road, corner of Long Street.
And what are they doing? Subdividing?
Which street is what here?
Long Street's out.
So it's a curve,
Homedale
future
Road
sidewalks
and
road.
Long Street, the southwest corner.
Point to the map, so we get a frame of reference here.
It's opposite the mausoleum.
Yes, 17,
Okay, got it.
which has a house on it, and it's been a tree farm. And this has been going on for a while. And they're dividing it into 3 lots.
So it must have been non-conforming if it went before the zoning board?
Yeah, Roberts Road, Homedale Road,
Is this for
One house.
resolution compliance too, or is this?
yes.
Yes.
There were some, I remember, there were some easements required, and I
There
think
was
these
a
plans propose easements.
Cul-de-sac off of Roberts Road. There's Homedale Road, Roberts Road, the mausoleum stuff is here. Yeah, there's a variety of conservation easements
Mhm.
proposed, yeah, because there's some water in there.
What's this?
There should be some stormwater inlet in the.
This
corner
is
to
the
the
Yes,
stormwater
storm.
yeah,
management.
there's
See them
a
there?
stormwater basin here.
Who's responsible for that?
Drainage easement by deed to the township of Homedale,
So now we're responsible for
presumably.
it. So it's not a stormwater, it's really a drainage easement.
That wasn't used by the Casolas for irrigation?
Don't know. Was it?
That's kind of my question. I've always caught a glimpse of the pond there. I just kind of assumed it was being used for irrigation for the nursery stock.
Yeah, this doesn't go
Probably
into
really.
that, you'd have to go, I don't know if that says anything about it.
Well, since we don't know much, I make the same kind of motion, that we did in the last one.
T&M to verify the appropriate information
In
and confirm. that
compliance
it's
on all
compliant.
environmental things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll second that.
It's tough when you get these things added at the last minute.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we don't all individually get copies of everything, so you have time to review, look at it ahead of time. Okay.
All right. You have 2 add-ons here. One was Homedale Fields.
Okay, that's one, did we look at that last time? That's this property here, on the east side of 34, which, okay, this shows the phase 1, which got divided off from this lot, and there's a new cul-de-sac coming off of Homedale Road. And the houses are almost all finished being built there now. And then this was, it's the R4R, so it's cluster, so they were required to provide open space. And there's a old farm pond and wetlands and a stream which flows into the Willow Brook here. And as part of this part of the subdivision, they agreed to donate all of this land to the county parks. And now, there was another phase of houses that was going to come off 34.
Okay.
And instead of building those 10 houses, they're selling this part to Monmouth County Parks.
With the exception of
With
that
the exception
1 acre
is there
lot.
is just adjacent, there's a little square shown there, that there's an existing house next to the, I guess, the gas station.
Which would be
And the owners of the
non-conforming.
overall property want to keep the house, and I guess it's a partnership, so somebody in the partnership or some relative of the partnership lived there and they want to keep the house.
With a creek in the back, right?
Yeah, with a creek in the back, so
My-
it is,
My comment at that time was that it's not a non-conforming lot that they're creating.
it's totally non-conforming.
And you need, the buffer is 200 feet off the creek, right?
Yeah.
300.
So it's
300?
300 because
The-
of
the-
this.
The 300 feet goes through the existing house.
So,
That doesn't make any sense, right?
and it's septic too.
Yeah.
There's no sewer, so,
I mean, that one, I did see Bonnie Hurd's letter on it, on the previous version. What's different about this version, I don't know, it's an amended plan. And apparently this is coming to the planning board next week.
okay, so we get another bite at the apple next week.
The answer will be the same.
Yeah, the answer should be the
I mean,
same.
nothing's gonna change.
Yeah, so I mean, Bonnie Hurd was pointing out that, hey, this is totally non-conforming, it's an undersized lot, it's within the buffer, it doesn't meet the side lot,
You can't build on it.
well, it's existing,
It's existing as part of the big parcel.
correct.
Right.
But when you subdivide, you should, there's no hardship. They could create a conforming lot.
I don't know if they can totally make a conforming lot, they certainly ought to make it more like 3 or 4 acres.
Well, in terms
So
of
in
acreage.
size, it's conforming.
Yes.
You're not gonna move the house, so if it's within the buffer, that's pre-existing, you can't change that.
On the new plans, did they change the size of the lot? Do we know?
No.
I glanced at it, it looked like it was still 1+ acres instead of 4.
So the meeting is next Tuesday on this thing, so we need a letter right away.
Well-
Planning board.
Tina and Bonnie reviewed everything here.
Yeah, so that's in writing already.
That's done. Done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I have a question, if I can ask. If it's already existing, do they comply to the setback requirements for their septic fields with potable water? Well, that's, I mean, I don't mind.
Existing, it's existing and it precedes all rules.
Well, I think there'd be a good case here to say, you need to locate your septic fields.
Well, but it's already there. It was there before the rules saying where you put septic fields were written.
Understood. But I think you could condition it being a conforming lot in terms of size, and therefore you now have the ability to move this existing septic system.
Especially since
I
that's
don't know
going,
if you require that.
No, probably not.
Well, how about the following, of saying,
and that's really the fundamental issue
this is a
with our water.
tough one. We concur with many of the comments in Bonnie Hurd's engineering letter, that the extent of non-conformance with regard to many environmental issues is significant and needs to be addressed
By the planning board.
by the planning board.
And what, you know what may happen
Right,
is
so
that,
it's
I'm not saying it
1.379
will, but the owners who want that little house may say, to hell with it, the county can have the whole piece. And the county might tear it down
But
or
since
use
it's
it as a
existing,
ranger
you can't do anything
station.
about it.
Well, I think
Yeah, I mean, the
that's got a lot
simplest
of
is to
authority
increase
to
the
do
size
something
of the
about
lot.
it.
Well, I
That'd be
mean,
trivial. Just move the
Tina
lot
reviewed
line.
it, I think, with your township
Make it
engineer.
one lot and that's it.
Yeah. So you have, at least you have, but that also gives you, you may not be able to require moving the septic system now, but it gives you the space to, at some point in time,
And then
do
there's
so.
the negotiated purchase price by the county, or is it being gifted? Is it being gifted or is it
So,
sold? So if you take some land away, the county should get a reduced price. Not our problem.
no, no. In the scheme of things, I think the differences are negligible. So I think they're talking, $1 or $2 million or something like that.
There's also an oil tank there. I can't tell from the drawings whether it's buried or above ground.
Don't know.
Okay.
Well,
And
when
Ralph?
if it is officially subdivided, then that should be checked.
Okay, and just my own knowledge of that area, I think that flows across the street into Reminiscent. I don't know if that goes to the
No,
water.
it goes.
Are you sure?
The stream is behind the property,
I know.
and that's what fills it, goes into the Willow.
Okay.
It goes along here and under the intersection, and the main Willow is here. So it flows into this, which then flows to the reservoir.
Okay, then I'm confusing it with the other two ponds that are further down the road and across the street then.
So isn't it, that is a C1.
Yeah, it's all seaward. 'Cause, yeah.
All right, so I think we've got that covered.
Okay, so what were the words? PD to consider T&M letter.
Yes, as long as they go by everything that Tina asked for.
And seek a conforming lot? Okay.
And since they're creating a new lot, they should make sure that the
To the extent
tank,
possible.
the ASD or USD, whatever it is not leaking, or has not leaked.
I think it's behooved on them to also have enough space to have their
It'd be on
septic
the master
fields
list
correctly.
of leaky tanks.
Right,
Yes.
but again, like that, if it's,
So you think
Existing.
it's already been addressed or not?
This has been addressed.
It has been, okay,
Well, we can just, as a reminder. Okay.
okay,
There are a bunch of tanks. Have to be addressed.
okay.
So I have a hypothetical question. You have an existing structure and septic fields, and your septic fields fail. Can't the town come in and condemn your property if you don't have an operating septic fields?
The Board of Health can condemn.
Well, this is a place that, if they have any problems with their septic fields, they have
Nobody
to...
said they're having problems.
Well,
Probably.
You don't know.
Just like that little doctor's office in Cold Snake there too.
I mean, you could have a house there with nobody's living in, but it's just sentimental value or something like that, they just want to keep it.
Okay.
So it's not, nothing's operating there, we don't
And
know.
if somebody moves in there, it could fail.
Right, well, then they have to issue a CO.
I guess the impression I got from Bonnie I
All those
was
is using C-
somebody was
COs.
living there.
But isn't the CO required when it changes hands? No,
Yes.
is this change, no, okay.
Not necessarily.
All right. Every town's different.
Yeah.
Only if you sell it.
No, even on a sale, you don't get a new CO when you sell an existing house. CO goes with the house. Yeah. If you do construction changes so that you need a building permit, then the town can come in and review the.
If you sell the house, you have to have a CO for the people to
Yeah,
occupy the house.
but the CO goes with the house. If you, once you have a CO, if you don't make changes to the house.
Let's say
it's
that
still
you,
valid.
that the new owner requires, or is in the deal that you change your septic system.
Well, then that
Then,
requires a permit.
then it requires a permit, and then it requires a CO.
Yeah, but if there's no changes to the house or the systems, there's no permit needed.
There's still a CO needed when you,
But the prior CO carries forward. There's no expiration date on COs.
no, but if you sell the house,
The CO go.
you have to get a CO with the
You don't
house.
have to get a new one.
I thought you did.
I thought-
Really?
Oh, I thought you
I
had.
don't think so.
In our
You
our
do.
community, we've had.
I know.
I've been selling real estate since 1979.
I bought my house 3 years ago, and from my father-in-law,
2 years ago, they didn't require a CO in Homedale.
2 years ago.
They didn't require a.
Did they
a
change
CO
the
in
law?
Homedale. That changed
When did it change that?
last year, I think it was.
I don't think so.
It was changed within the last couple of years, I know that.
No.
But you didn't need a CO in Homedale for a resale. Now you do.
This isn't a resale because it's staying with the original owner.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If it's the original owner, they're not gonna need a CO.
Yeah, but that was-
They're probably not- don't even use the
He
house.
started it, that was it. See what happened?
Trouble.
well, you know, just in case, you know, they want to, you know, will it on to the family members, and if something fails, first of all, it sounds like it's so close to the watershed that it's going to be polluting the water. That's our drinking water there, so that's what really raised my radar up. Also, if it fails, they don't even have space to relocate the field on their property because it's a non-conforming lot. The reason why the lots are certain sizes so that you can have discharge to groundwater. So,
Yeah.
so what we're just trying to point out, I think we're trying to be nice about it. It's like, guys, make it a little bit bigger and address your issue of how close your septic field. I think it's 150 feet to potable water. Okay.
Are they coming to the planning board next week?
That's what Bonnie
think
I
so.
told me at 5:30 today, is that these two add-ons are on the planning board agenda for next week.
I think we need more information about it. I think we need to ask them.
Well, it's at the planning board, you'll have the opportunity to ask them.
And the other question I would ask is to have the well tested for nitrates.
Right, and,
Health Department does that.
yeah.
Hmm?
Always well water? I missed that.
to have the well on that property
Oh.
tested to see if,
Probably not
On the
conforming
property.
in terms of distance between the
but let's see
septic
if it's
and the fields
contaminated,
and
which
the well.
again brings up the issue of you're not applying the best practices that's on the books these days for well and discharge to groundwater,
Okay.
as well as being proximity to a stream that feeds into a watershed that feeds 600,000 people their water.
A lot of these issues can be mitigated by creating a conforming lot, which is what we want. right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Extent possible.
jurisdiction that help, but
Right. It is. But the health department can't resolve an issue when the lot is so small. They can only
This one and then the
contaminate.
next one, what Bonnie told me is that these are revised plans. So what they changed and how they changed it.
This is Robert's program.
So does that become a legal issue where the next owners can turn around and sue Homedale because they didn't catch this when they set up the lot? It says, a lot of them set up a lot that had non-conforming, discharge to groundwater and location of a wellhead to that, as well as discharge to nearby stream.
Board of Health issue,
we're in this issue.
not the town.
So what are you asking exactly?
Well, one, you're opening up a legal issue because the township did not catch this issue when it was rezoning the property. If we perceive a Board of Health
Well,
issue.
township didn't know that they wanted to divide the property too.
Well, we know it, they're.
Now we know it now, but
Well, there were
most likely back then with we didn't know
The
what
house,
this.
the
well,
house
they-
precedes zoning,
Right, so that's not
So
the issue. The issue
it's-
is now the subdivision.
opens a door.
Opens that door, so call the Board of Health in, have them do their job, find out whether their well water is portable or not, have them find out the location, because there's no as-built there on that drawing for the septic fields or the wellhead, and as well as placement of the oil tank.
I think your question is fair and it's very smart, but I won't have any answer to it.
Otherwise, I don't want to make any trouble.
It's work health, I think it's work health and.
Like I said,
We-
whatever else the owner, I'd say the hell with it, I'll tear it down and out.
We can only recommend to
That's what we did.
the planning board
The Board of Health
for
has
that.
total jurisdiction.
Yep. We have jurisdiction over the size of the lot.
That's all.
Okay?
I would love to see this.
Which,
Well, I mean, do you want to make a recommendation to the planning board?
yeah, that they
To,
should consider all the issues pointed out in the T&M letter. And we recommend that the planning board seeks that the house separating lot, however you put it, should be a conforming lot to the
Mhm.
extent possible.
Okay. You have that, Chris?
To help mitigate any environmental issue.
Yeah,
To what you said?
To help mitigate any environmental issues, existing
Or
environmental
prevent, yeah.
issues. Allow some options that currently wouldn't exist with an undersized lot.
Mhm. If, just a notification that you brought up these issues to the other proper organization here in Homedale just says that, you've done your due diligence to alert the other organizations that you need to take this further.
Right. You want to join this committee?
Okay.
I'm videotaping already, so.
You're videotaping and he's recording.
And if you, by the way, if you give me your email addresses, I will send you the link directly, so in case you need to refer
Okay.
to that.
okay, there's one other add-on,
Yeah, one other add-on.
and what was that one?
Uh,
Oh, yes.
Major subdivision.
Okay, this is the one on South Holland that goes through the Parkway Place. It's a revised plan. I glanced at it a little bit beforehand, and of course, you can't tell how it's revised.
Remember, last time we talked about this, we said that easement area, there should be an easement applied to that area near the stream.
Correct. And well, there was a couple of things. That it comes near, let's see. It's this lot here. And this is the main reminiscent, and this is a little streamlet that goes into the reminiscent. And hence, because that is the reminiscent, the stream to the reminiscent, there's a 300-foot here. And it's not clear that they were including the entire 300-foot in an easement.
It didn't, it wasn't, I think it was clear that they weren't.
Weren't. There was that, and then the other thing, and I may have, I think, we talked about this at the meeting a month or two ago.
Yeah,
We
that they want to
discussed
put the
it
barn and
briefly with
everything else.
Bonnie Hurd, that normally the ordinance requires that the 300-foot buffer be in a conservation easement, which means you do nothing. It's currently landscaped and mowed. You can see that when you drive past on South Holland. You just look uphill, you see it. And to say you can't even mow it or do anything, to me, sounded going a little far. And letting them maintain it the way they currently do, which may mean part of it should be a landscape easement. That again is planning board in the hearing would raise the question about how much of an easement and what kind of an easement and where.
Remember, they're building a barn, which means
Wise.
maybe horses. And horses next to stream don't mix.
Yeah, so it just, on this one, it's the reiteration that we reiterate that the easement requirements need to be reviewed.
Reviewed and expanded perhaps.
Yeah.
How much to be determined.
And then I guess at the hearing, you can ask the applicant as to what are you proposing and why.
What are you doing
We
with
got
that
the
barn?
layers there, you figure out how to make the right kind of easement so that it makes sense for them and for the water.
Didn't this used to be a nursery?
Yes, it was F&F, piece of F&F going back, before the subdivision occurred. Because they have one house up there. So I guess somebody else in the family, well, it's the new owner now, so they want another house.
Back to the first two items.
All right,
3 items.
That's the end of those items.
you want to bring anything up about open space?
Why don't we talk to Rick Gardens?
Yeah, let's do the gardens thing first. Chris had put together some letters. Loretta had looked at it. And usually when communications don't work, things fall in the crack and they don't happen. In this case, the opposite happened. One of the goals that I know Chris had is to try to get some information into the newsletters. And it happened. And Loretta found it and made a copy of one page. This is from the July 2019, right off the town website, of what got published. So they beat us to it. They got the message.
Chris knew about it before.
Yeah, okay. So,
My only comment is that it didn't contain enough information about wanting volunteers.
well, we can try to do another one another time. Some of these kinds of things, you gotta hit people more than once.
Loretta drafted it.
Send it in. Send it to Loretta and let's see if Loretta can get that onto the town website or into the next newsletter. I mean, the other thought that I had associated with that is, I know you want volunteers, is, this will be a little bit touchy, they said they had a waiting list for the existing gardens.
I was thinking the same thing. They
You
do.
know,
Mhm.
if you have a waiting list for your project, you don't necessarily want to give it away. But if there are a couple of people on that waiting list who are really hot to trot and willing to roll up their sleeves, those are the kinds of people you would want, because they've previously shown an interest.
I agree 100%.
What's your feeling on getting the Parks Department involved?
I think you can talk to Bob Ward. He's a nice guy. Stroke him a little bit. He's got his hands full with the recreation improvements. There's an awful lot of stuff got approved last night. We're going ahead and putting a couple turf fields up in Phillips Park, and dugouts and batting cages, and a variety of less expensive stuff in some of the other fields, and fixing up fields.
So let me help a little here, since I've been most involved with this garden. It was actually Victor Stevens who
Yep.
really came in with the equipment and helped brought it to the ground and set it up. You know, so that's really that aspect of it. What really got him over the hurdle was donation for the fence, which came from
Yeah,
Fahos.
there were a lot of donations.
Well, I'm saying the stuff that got them moving in the right direction, and as you probably know, that it was Lindsay.
The longer article mentions that.
She
Lindsay and
was
then
the
Betsy
one
Wilson.
that was part of the Eco Club, and actually, since I'm a master gardener, she came to my house and I talked to her and gave her direction as far as that location, because I knew we weren't building a library there. So they're thinking about putting another one of these down at Crosswalk.
Yes.
So I think that's a great location, but it's getting people involved to
Do it.
do the work.
You gotta get a couple of interested, enthusiastic people to say, hey, I'd like this, and to help to make the effort. All the other people you mentioned are there. You know, if you ask Victor to help, I'm sure he will. If you ask Bob Ward to help, he will, but he probably wants a couple of people to be talking to help do the work.
It's actually the organizational aspect, but now they have a standard that they can model after. The only other hurdle I can see down at Cross Farm is access to water, which is really obviously critical.
Well, that will, I guess, in our conversations, we've just said Cross Farm very generally. Chris, have you looked at a specific spot at Cross Farm?
No, I was gonna solve it by putting in the cistern.
Okay, because I think location relative to water is gonna impact where you put it at Cross Farm.
Plus, you can't put it on the county, what's gonna become county property.
Right. Although one area, which I believe so far isn't utilized, is, let's see, this is Cross Farm. The area that's potentially switched over to the county is this, south of Willowbrook.
Right.
There is, and this is the main Raminescent. There's a tributary that goes into the Raminescent that comes along here. There's a wood line there, and then there's a baseball field, a small parking lot here. But between the wood line and Willowbrook Road, there's a big open field. It's not currently utilized.
And that's staying with the town.
That's staying with the town. It may be on the wrong side of the stream from where the water is. In one early on plan that T&M had for Cross Farm, where they did a master plan for the whole Cross Farm, they had that being a potential tree nursery for the town. You know, plant some little trees and then they get bigger and then you can move them and plant them elsewhere. But it was included that was not a good site because it's very windy and young trees don't like that much wind. Plus the water issue. But
I found a design for a 5,000 gallon in-ground cistern, which can be constructed out of polyethylene, and you can fill it up with a fire truck.
Well, there is water at Cross Farm, and
There is water
they're
there.
putting in and spending more money to bring more water to the baseball fields.
somebody needs to talk to whoever's engineering Cross Farm and doing the other work at Cross Farm to figure out what
Get
the right
this thrown
spot is.
in, yeah.
Yeah.
And my own thinking of the location, I was thinking something more along the lines next to the parking lot near the bathroom and all those facilities, because the garden itself really is not that big compared to the space there. You know, it's
Yeah.
40 by 80, maybe. You know, you could squeeze that in almost anywhere. I mean, we've been putting in other, you know, amenities in there, the water feature park, you know, the pavilion and things like that. So it's just a matter of finding the right location to do
Yeah,
that.
and you
That-
probably want it a little bit out of the middle of the way, so you don't have the kids, when there are kids there, and when there are kids there are hundreds of them trampling over everything.
Well, it's all fenced.
Yeah, that'll be appropriate.
And if it's wildly successful, you want to have enough space to grow it.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, since you brought that comment up, the present garden is expandable. There is more space right behind it, going further back to the PNC Arts Center, or whoever has that property from the state that has their trucks there. So you've got another 100 feet or so in there, easy to expand.
Although,
What I liked about the idea of Cross Farm is it's a different location, and it makes it more convenient for people in southern Homedale. And I'm really happy to say this, where I was absolutely wrong about a community garden, 'cause I'm saying, why would people want to go to a community garden when they're living on an acre or two they could do in their backyard? Apparently, people like the feature of doing this with other people, so
Socialization.
yeah, but a lot
Who
of lots in
knows?
Homedale are wooded and
Well, I'm
trees
just
and
saying,
shade, and
if-
you aren't gonna grow anything there.
if you walk
The
the...
air.
They could swap.
Deer,
product,
there's the
too.
fence,
Yeah.
and,
So,
Gets you out of the house too.
Hmm?
It gets you out of the house.
well,
Yeah, and so putting it closer to a different area
Makes sense.
brings in
Well-
another group of people.
Right.
so what are the next steps on this? I guess, Chris, send the thing you sent, put together to Loretta, and have Loretta see to
You need
get
to
it.
find a spot, and you need to find a leader.
Yeah, that's the key. I think, well, what Chris was saying, the key in this expanded thing is we need volunteers.
And I propose Mike as a leader.
I second it.
This nasty group.
All in favor, say aye.
Nasty group.
Yeah.
You're back.
I mean,
Or lie?
you can make it into a Boy Scout thing too.
Girl Scouts, Boy Scout, yeah.
Correct.
Well,
Same
no,
thing.
I don't think so.
It's no different.
Now, why not?
Why not?
The
Boy
Scouts actually
Scouts
did a lot of stuff with
do a
the
lot of
Present
stuff for
And they're not Boy
individual
Scouts anymore.
projects, but the trouble with them is they get older. And the Boy Scouts are usually really involved in these kinds of things for only a year or two.
Well,
And
Well,
then
they do it as
do-
Eagle projects.
the
Right,
leader-
and
Scouts in
they last for
general.
a year or two, and then they graduate from high school and they're gone. So you want one or two people who are not such, who are gonna be around a little longer to help carry it on.
Yeah, but they're
Need
good
both.
for certain things that you need done. And it's, and it's scouting, because you have girls in there as well.
So Lindsay passed it on to her mother.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Mhm.
lineage of what
So
happened.
is there, what, are there other next steps that we or somebody should be doing?
I want to first get the survey out of the volunteers that want.
So, I mean, so why don't, you should talk to Loretta, tell her what you want, and then she can seek about getting information into the next newsletter and onto the website.
Yes.
It's so funny that I happened to bring up questions. I was at the Red Screen Team meeting about, in retrospect, about the present community garden, and what I was told is they wish they did it bigger. So that, I thought that was a very insightful suggestion on their part. So whatever size we have here,
Make it larger.
make it larger.
Might get more participation of the older individuals if the raised beds were higher than normal.
Well, they didn't put in the raised beds. From walking the garden, people elected to build their own raised beds because
So it should have happened.
it just kind of evolves over time. But by the way, that really
As we get
resonates with
older- As
me.
we get older.
Yeah,
as
that's a
they-
challenge. Definitely a
Raised beds
challenge.
should be this high.
The presentation was made by the rain garden expert,
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, Oasis.
had them raise them up. By 12,
Inches.
Please.
8 by 12,
Oh, you bet. Okay.
and then raise them up with the gravel underneath it.
Do we know how long the waiting list is?
It's considerable.
That's good.
That's wonderful, absolutely. We should be contacting those people directly.
Now, is this considered passive recreation? I'm being facetious. I'm not very good at weeding.
I don't distinguish between weeds and flowers and vegetables.
What's a weed, what's a flower, right? Still depends on how you look at it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, next.
All right. You wanna go over open space real quick?
Okay, I mean, yeah, the other thing that was on the agenda was Waycake Creek next steps, and that we really ought to have Mike for, because he's the contact with the Rutgers people. On the open space road,
Oh, come on, that's what we're here for.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed that presentation, and I haven't had a
it
chance
was
to
good.
review the
It
video.
was-
Sorry.
It's there?
I have to do that.
This is an updated version of the list as we discussed last time.
I apologize, but if you're not gonna discuss that, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
I see
okay.
everybody. Take care.
Oh, before we go past the Waycake study, so I reached out to Mike and to the township engineer and to Chris, and I had read the study. The problem I have with what they provided us is they gave a JPEG of the plans when they broke up the area, and when you enlarge the JPEG, it pixelates, so you can't see any of the details. Because what I'm taking the next step, which is, they broke up that entire watershed, and what I like to know is, what's the 10 biggest contributors of water to the Waycake? So that you can start tackling the big guys first and see what possibly you can do to mitigate or reduce the amount of, or the rate of infiltration of that water into the Waycake.
The files that make up the map are at the county level, so we can ask the county to make up a map
From their GIS.
for their GIS.
Okay. So who does the asking?
I will.
Okay. And then the other question is, would it be okay for me to send Chris a request for the map?
Chris, who?
The person that did the study at Rutgers?
Oh.
I don't know what his last name is.
Well, it's public information. Ask somebody from the county to ask for you, from the town to ask for you.
Well, Mike's been the contact, so right now, forget about that.
So I've asked Mike at the township meetings, I've asked friend Moeller, I've been working with Chris on this for a long time, and just, I need to see the map to be able to take it the next step for myself.
Well, with public information, you can.
I don't want
ask.
to over it, it's just a map, more detail.
Trying to think if the individual's name was on that.
Chris.
Yeah, but his last name might be there.
Oh, it is too.
Maybe you can contact Rutgers directly and.
I have his email address, I just
Oh.
don't want to step on people's
Oh,
toes
okay.
by emailing him directly.
Then just do it.
Do it? Okay.
If you get it, you can send me a copy.
I show up.
If we had $1,400, we could have it in-house and I could do it.
You need a license for the software?
Yeah.
I think that should be put in the budget for next year, if not sooner. I mean, we could use it for this stuff,
Yes.
everything. We could project it up there.
They've got it nice because it's all available on Windows 10 and the web. So you get all the updates and on the web.
It's a way to go. I'm not a paper Mac person anymore, this drives me nuts.
Anyway, this updates a little bit what we did. We spent a while discussing this, I guess, a couple of meetings ago. And I've gone over it and tried to clarify my notes and line things up with the tax map and the like, and cleaned up a few details. One thing I think, this is simply in the order that we did it in, not that that's any good order at all. I think once we get closer to being done, what we'll do is put these either in an alphabetic order or a geographic order, and then take a version of this map and number them, whether they're 1 through 14 like this or whatever, and then have a map with those numbers on it.
I think it should be alphabetized.
Fine. Since I know where there's more to be added, I didn't bother doing that yet. And these map IDs are ones that Chris had from his map, and some properties are being included and some not, so I think when we get a little further along, then we'll just renumber everything with our own numbering and have a map that matches that.
Corresponds to it, okay.
I also went, in going through it, in comparing stuff with the tax maps, I found a consistent mistake in the tax maps. And I talked with Eric, the assessor, today, and he's gonna talk to T&M about it. In that, there are a bunch of these properties that we're looking at that are currently being farmed. So one of the two sources of lots we're looking at is vacant land, and the other was land which is currently being farmed. All of those properties are generally farmland assessed. The tax map has it labeled as farmland preserved, which is not correct. Different use of the words. You can have a farm of whatever you want, and you go for a tax reduction with getting it farmland assessed, which is different from farmland preserved.
And there's another nuance, preserved may be permanently preserved or in an 8-year program.
Yeah, so there's some mislabelings there, and I think that'll all get straightened out. But one other thing that we missed originally is, this is Southwest Homedale, there's Homedale Village, this is what was formerly the Westor property, Henry West, and it's now Westor Incorporated, and that's this lot and this lot. One we missed was this one. It's on South Homedale Road. It's, the owner now, Giordano Lynn, is the state executive, formerly Lou Cash, and was a little tree farm. And if you go down there, you'll see an area where there are rows of trees, not currently being maintained. But, you know, if we're gonna put this on the list, I think, you know, that one was also on the previous list. So I think it ought to be on the list to look at. Anyway, the areas what we covered, what we had addressed pretty much was from here around up to here. And so we've got, you know, all of northern Homedale yet to look at. I don't know that we want to start doing that today. And I see a shed nod. I can agree, it'll take time. But another evening when we have a little more time, we can do that, but at least I'm up to speed at this point. Chris has been up to speed and provide a lot of valuable input on to what we're putting onto this list.
Most of the lots are owned by large lot.
Right. I mean, we did mention this one, but I think what we need to do is also look at some of these others. There's a couple number of common ownerships and things that we haven't discussed, what should be on the list, what not. I mean, this is Atlantic Tree. You know, there's Valerie Neese. This is another one that's, you know, these are areas of Homedale that, you know, these aren't enormous properties, but do you want to see 10 houses on them, or, you know, what? Yet we, on the other hand, we'll have to prioritize. We can't buy everything. You can't afford
them all.
We've got Potter's Farm.
That's another one. We didn't, you know, we started here, we went that way, and I think we're pretty complete in that direction, and we need to go this way. And
Potter's
so,
Farm.
yeah, that was the last thing we did when we put it on the list. One thing that was confusing in some cases is that, and this is historic, that farmland assessment doesn't apply to the house on a farm.
Right.
So there's a separated land for the farm. And I believe the numbers I've got here are correct. and
Scott.
Have that all together. So, anyway.
What's the next meeting?
Oh, good question, because I mentioned that to Bonnie, when I talked to Bonnie I. The next one is Wednesday, August 14th is what's currently on the schedule.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out most of the month of August.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're having fun.
Yeah, I'll be in the Adirondacks.
On August 14th I can do, but then after that, I'm gone until September 7th.
It's
Yeah,
summer
the advertised
programs,
date
it's
is
hard.
August 14th. So how many are, well, I'm out, you're out.
I'm out.
I'm in.
I mean,
I'm in.
I'm in.
Okay.
You got four.
I wanted to just ask about, I won't point out Pandora's box here, but I've been reading about the turf field issue and whether it's environmentally sound. Is that something under our purview?
I think that ship has sailed.
That ship has
No.
sailed?
Once it's approved, it's approved.
They let the contract for the Phillips Park stuff run.
I did raise that question at the township meeting about whether the material that they're gonna be used is certified that it's free of tire crumb and the contaminants that normally associated with tire crumb being lead, chromium, and all those other
Sure, I was there, yes.
wonderful stuff there. And the answer that I got from the mayor was that they will get back to me.
That was that, yes, yeah.
And my issue is, even though it's on the other side of the ridge, up in Telegraph Hill, that still does infiltrate down into the groundwater.
There's studies being done now by the EPA as to the health hazards of chrome rubber.
And I am aware of those studies, and I wish the town was taking a more conservative approach here and waiting to hear what the EPA comes out with on those studies before investing $800,000 on synthetic turf and potentially polluting our environment. The EPA has already will not permit burying of tires in landfills that have to go to special landfills because there is known carcinogens in the tire, lead and chromium and all that good stuff. Or the industry turned around and they can't repurpose it by grinding it up to make it into nice play mats and figure that. So it's like, really? And we're gonna allow them to put this in our
Kitchen sink.
community?
Okay, I know this is a political hot.
And then this is, I'm just giving facts.
No, I'm just, I just say, should we take a position on this, even though the ship has sailed?
Well, how about just safeguarding and make sure that I'm not saying that they,
But what are we gonna suggest? An environmental study?
no.
Sure,
How
but
about,
I think the
how about
ship is-
certification?
I don't think we have the sources and the resources or the knowledge. We have facts that, Google facts, but
How about
Other than that.
have the manufacturer certify that the material they're using doesn't have these harmful contaminants in it? And we're not telling them what to use, because there's other things other than tire crumb they can use, okay? We're just asking to make sure that we're not getting the bad stuff in our community. We're safeguarding our community. That's fiduciary
Right.
responsibility.
Scott, I think you're raising legitimate questions. However, we're advisory. The township committee, in its greater wisdom, or however words you wish to use, has awarded the contract.
We can only make recommendations here.
Yeah.
That's what we
I
do.
understand, but as the Homedale Environmental Commission, I think this is a good one, which is we'd like to see material certification.
that the materials that you're gonna use will not be future harmful, that not be harmful for community and the waterways, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. I wouldn't let them put a septic
Sure.
field near a well or near our stream. Why do I want them to bury toxic material?
Correct.
No toxic material. If it's not toxic, I'll shut up. That's all, and that's all we're really asking. We're just safeguarding our community here, which is, I assume it's the fiduciary responsibility of this board.
I will support that if we work a recommendation to the builder or vendor,
Contractor.
Contractor to, for the use of materials that will not be harmful for the community and the waterways. And he will be using the construction ways of protecting our environment,
I think that's a good
for
idea.
the long run,
If
something
you-
like that.
If you throw the word certified in there, that means it means it has a
Yeah,
little.
but to Ralph's point, it's already been awarded without any of those criteria.
No, they've put it out to bid.
No, the contract was awarded
Last night, right?
They always can amend contracts too.
Agreed.
So there's not a done deal until
It's
it's
just,
there.
I think it's just a recommendation, and I believe that ship has sailed. But I do believe that the contractor will have a moral and legal responsibility, whether it's us or a private individual that is adding turf, for the use of the right material. So I don't think it's crazy to ask or to recommend what you
My
suggest.
husband's outside. Sorry.
I don't think it's crazy to.
He's been outside for half an hour.
Fireworks, fireworks. Good night.
He's sitting outside. Bye, everyone.
We just have to word it, but again, that, there's voted, that is gone.
As I said, this has been under focus in the entire country. The EPA has been
Right.
studying this stuff. I would love the EPA to come out and tell us, okay, because depending upon whose expert you get two conflicting interests here. So, you know, my own position is, let's take a conservative position. Grass has really been working pretty good for the last 300 years. Let's wait before we spend the $800,000 and see what the federal government has to say on the subject.
The town's response to that is grass doesn't work when it's too wet. And hence, they have decided in their greater wisdom to award a contract for turf fields to be built this year.
And not that it matters, but Green Acres, which is part of the NJDEP, awards money for turf fields.
Really?
Yep. Currently,
That's
currently it's allowed.
I mean,
shocking.
I believe there's enough studies, you know, both ways. And, I mean, for schools, you know,
it's
around
clearly
the
debatable, and
country.
it's clear, given the weather we've had this year.
But it's much more than that. It's, you know, if it's a proven material that's been used for the last 20 years, and in schools around the country, and recreational facilities around the country, and NFL, you know, and yet, you know, you see some facts that there's some.
Well, you just reminded me of one key thing, that some of these same questions came up 15 years ago when they first talked about turfing the Rogie Field, the main high school football field. It was the same arguments were being used. We're having the school staff was having serious difficulty maintaining the grass on the Rogie Field, and they were having to limit use of the field because in wet weather.
Correct.
And so the town and the Board of Ed together agreed to pay to do it. And I believe, you know, the result have been that they've been able to get dramatically greater use out of that
Oh, yeah.
field. That's no question about it.
Game after game.
And I have not heard of anybody having a health issue out of it. So that's just one example.
Right.
I don't know what the materials they used are there.
So let me just add some balance to this, okay? The NFL was a big supporter. They've now turned around and took it out. The men's soccer that team was playing on synthetic. They went back to natural grass, okay? The women's soccer team, and this is how I found out about this originally, the coach there, and I don't know if it's the present coach or was a previous coach, she started noticing that she was getting a lot of, she was attending a lot of funerals to her players that had contracted cancer.
We're not going to solve this.
Okay, and that what really alerted her to the fact that they were playing on this, and they saw a correlation.
I don't
So I'm
disagree
just-
with you.
I'm
It's-
just saying
there's
this is-
facts out there. There's studies both ways.
Yes.
But there's studies both ways. But again, we can only recommend, and even with a recommendation to the township committee, that ship has sailed. Then they will not stop the war. They will not retract on the war. And groundbreaking will start very, very soon, and we'll have turf fields by the end of the year.
So here again is doing fiduciary responsibility here and raising the question.
Absolutely.
Okay? That, you
Yeah,
know,
I'll be very interested to know how you're gonna contain the water. I mean, just for my own personal knowledge, how are you gonna contain where's the water gonna go?
They're installing drainage apparently in those fields.
Okay, so I'd like to see that, just for my personal opinion. The other day I was at the Yankee Stadium with a bunch of parents from Palmdale and their kids, with HYA, and a 7th inning came in. There was a big storm, you know what they do, they cover the field, you know, the infield, and pretty soon, the outfield was, you know, filled with water. Probably at least 3 to 4, you know, inches of water and.
On top of the,
It's
well, they don't-
natural, it's natural grass.
yeah, but they don't cover, they only cover the
They
infield?
only cover the infield, yeah. But the people that covers the infield and brings the tarps out, you know, they're walking on, and you see that their shoes, they're completely immersed into water, and they're, you know, probably, you know, this much of their pants. Rain goes past by, and it's just amazing. In less than 10 minutes, all that water is gone.
So there's the drainage.
The drainage system is unbelievable.
They have sand under it.
I like to see what kind of drainage, how they're gonna do it. Just for my own personal, you know.
So on these.
What are they gonna do with the water? Where's the water?
On the synthetic stuff, some of the drawings I've seen, it looks like a road in that they have specifications on the aggregate, the size of it as they build up to it. The last 6 or so inches is some type of material, okay, can be ground up tires, that they've used corn husk that has compressibility to it, okay? What's interesting, and then on top of it then goes the actual carpet, okay? What happened originally was that was manufactured with lead, okay, and they've they rechanged it because, for obvious reason. The other thing is that plastic gets hot, so they have to keep it wet to keep it cool, because it raises up in temperature much greater than natural grass would happen. Okay, so that all is in my understanding is some type of, I'm going to use the word bathtub. Okay, I assume they put some type of impervious membrane underneath this. It goes to some type of filter box, and then they filter this going off field.